Hey Seeker, welcome back to the Existential Shift. I'm Morgane. A quick note before we start the June Gemini season's tarot scopes for this coming month. Game of Thrones yesterday. If you haven't seen it, major spoiler alert, click off. And come back after you see it. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to get the hell out of here because I'm going to speak. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The death of Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, mother of dragons, breaker of chains, freer of slaves, the KHALEESI, is the symbolic attack currently and for a very long time on the divine feminine in the world today. We all know the events happening currently. The drama around abortions, the attempt to control the life, body, spirit, freedom of women by men, not divine men, but lower vibration type of men. There is a reason why in the tarot deck of Game of Thrones they've given Daenerys the title of the Empress. She is the Great Mother. She is Gaia. Everything about her character. Now, we have to put aside the last season that didn't have George R.R. Martin's guidelines for the writers. Okay, he didn't finish his books. So for season 8, they kind of had more of a free roam. They had the writing, and it shows. Because seemingly on the surface, it's a bunch of men who betrayed her, killed her, gave her every single bad advice possibly, cornering her into a place where she had no choice but to roar. And we all know what happens with Mother Nature is forced to roar. Hurricanes, storms, fires, and all that jazz. But who did this to her? Humanity, okay? So every single bad advice and guidance to corner her to not have a choice. And then when she does the necessary thing, she's being murdered by the one she loves, who claims to love her. So we can go into blaming the characters, but I think there's something deeper than that, because there's something deeper that pulls the strings of our behavior these days and for the past centuries, obviously. I'm sorry if you're hearing these loud. Okay, let's go. We are really on the verge of waking up and liberating the divine feminine from thousands of years of shackles, of chains. And it always feels like we are so close, right? 7 seasons of Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, some of you might say, oh, it's just a television show. Nothing is just something. Everything is a metonymy, a micro to a macro. This has been a worldwide phenomenon, an epic narrative that is crossing all boundaries. People all over the world have been watching it. And the characters there, most especially the female characters, were so powerful and empowered and empowering. And it has truly given a wonderful influence on our minds, most especially young generations. Similarly to what Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman did, and Gal Gadot did in Wonder Woman. And I was so very hopeful to see what season 8 will bring. Because for me, it was a reflection of our society and of humanity today. I think it's way beyond what the characters did. It's way beyond what the writers chose to do to the characters. Those are just the mercenaries, right? The hitmen. Because the more we expand our consciousness and the more we climb, the more it becomes steep, and the more there are also forces, energetic forces, that wants to bring us backwards, to maintain control of the status quo, to maintain control over the earth and how it is evolving. You see vegetarianism and veganism is no longer just it's growing and growing and growing. People are becoming more and more mindful and caring for the planet and for its situation, for climate change and everything that's going on. Now, of course, it's far from being perfect. It is mostly still controlled and demolished by major corporations and major disastrous personal behaviors of every single person and their choices, from what they buy to what they consume and what they eat. We all have a hand in it, right? But there's still an awakening. There is beacon, and the more we grow with our awareness, the more things that are currently in control of the status quo, that has been in control of the status quo, try to demolish it and bring it back to being in its place, under control. Daenerys, the character of Dany, did phenomenal things throughout 7 seasons. And yes, I guess characters can go mad, but there was no authentic process to show how it is happening and why it is happening, to excuse it in a way. There's the reasoning that I'm hearing, like in interviews and stuff, it's just, it makes no sense. I'm also an actress and a filmmaker and a writer, and it's just, and I've been reading, I'm a bookworm, I've been reading books my entire life. The plot twist that they've made in the last season and how they had the characters it was forced on the characters. Jon Snow was not behaving as Jon Snow. Jon Snow would never stab his queen. His loyalty, Vamanite, I bend to the knee. It's just, it makes no sense. Tyrion is a smart fellow. He does not give such stupid guidance. A character can only be as smart as their writers. And when the writers changed, the intelligence of the characters changed. The intelligence dropped, unfortunately, and this badass, magnificent, divine goddess, she couldn't possibly be powerful and moral and beautiful. Something has to be fucked up, right? So let's make her crazy. I don't think it's conscious that the writers sat down and was like, let's bring women to the Middle Ages and can maintain the misogynistic status quo. It is engraved in them, and now it shows that they're not as evolved as George R.R. Martin. Now, I don't want to go too much into analyzing the show and what, because then I will make it about, talking about the show, which I can do forever because I'm a fan and I loved the show. But I want to keep this on what it symbolizes and what it means for us. We are so damn nearly close, but there's always things that are pulling us back. The divine feminine and the divine masculine are awakening, and then fear and the intellect and the mechanism takes over the masculine, and he betrays the feminine. because he just can't handle it. He's almost there, but he's not yet there. Now, I'm not talking about specific individuals, you all beautiful men who are watching me, and thank you. This is not to shade you, and I'm sure many of you are wonderful and evolved and all that jazz. I'm talking about, sadly, what we see today. We get so close, and then 25 men vote to force women to give birth. Seemingly pro-life, right? In the show, it was the excuse that was used in the last episode. Oh, it's for humanity. It's for what is better. We have to do something wrong, aka kill Dany, for the sake of the greater good, right? We have to force women to give birth for the sake of the life that the baby represents. BS. I call major bullshit. No. It's just the reasoning that we give ourselves to maintain control and not evolve, because evolution and change are terrifying. Because when you go to a different realm, a different world, that reminds us of death. Any change reminds us of death. Yesterday I added the death card to the my Tarot Master class. I added that lesson, and I speak massively there about that, about the reason why the card of change and growth and expansion of consciousness gets the death. It's very symbolic, because subconsciously, archetypically, we obviously, it makes sense, connect change to death, because what is the biggest change that we can fathom with the complete unknown that we have no clue what's going on in the other side? Death. And every little to big change reminds us of that, thus we hold on to the known. Allowing the divine feminine to blossom and to heal and to bring euphoria is unfortunately still beyond the masculine archetype of our mechanism. Again, the masculine archetype of our mechanism. This is not to say that there aren't beautiful men who are completely evolved. It's not to say that, okay? But unfortunately, it does mean that there are many of them who are not. And we can see what is happening today in our society. We've grown so much, and then stab. I cried. I cried like a baby. I was so upset seeing that episode. But you need to understand that for me, it is way beyond a television show. What this character represented still does. It meant so much. Wonder Woman wasn't just a movie. A father posted something that went viral about him taking his little boy to see that movie. And then after the movie, the kid... the boy was like, when I grow up, I want to be Wonder Woman. It sounds cute, but it's more than cute. It is liberating to our existence. It is so important. Art, movies, books, shows, they are so effective on our minds, most especially children's minds. Most especially a show like that is everywhere. The writers did have a responsibility way beyond the seemingly superficial entertainment. They chose the plot twist and the drama and the cheesy soap opera over loyalty to the essence of the actual characters. None of what they did made sense to them. And none of what is going on with the suppression of females, of women, is loyal to our essence. It is puppeteered by negative forces that are also inevitably in our minds. The war isn't like Star Wars type of light versus dark in space, although who knows. It is within us. Every single one of you who is watching right now, if you're a divine masculine, do not suppress shame, fear, betray the divine feminine in your life that you love for excuses, reasoning of your mental, fearful mechanism. Evolve, break through those change. If you are a divine feminine watching me, do not let them. Keep going. If you feel betrayed, if you feel shamed, if you feel abandoned, it's not on you, lady. Keep fighting the good battle. Mother of dragons cannot die. Just like fire cannot die. The writer wrote it that way. The puppeteers of negative forces maintained their status quo of mechanism, the way they think, and they made that so heartbreaking, disappointing choice. It shows that we're not ready yet, but we are still blowing fire. And we will be ready. You know? It's always almost and so close. I can see it in my homeland where I come from, Israel. You know, we just had elections. And I'm sorry to involve politics in it, but it's meaningful and it's symbolic. And Israel is a Taurus. The divine feminine is a Taurus. The Empress is a Taurus. Daenerys Targaryen is very much of a Taurus essence. Combination of Taurus and Scorpio, 100%. We just had elections, an opportunity when Israel almost voted a different party that would bring it into such a better place. But the fear took over, and once again, the current tyrant still holds the throne. And he's been in control for more than a decade. And every time it's closer and closer and closer until one day it's more than just closer. It just breaks the wheel. If stopping the wheel doesn't work, let's break the wheel of our own fear-based mechanisms. And the whole conversation of, oh, she just went in accordance to her bloodline. You are not your bloodline. You are not your parents, your grandparents, and ancestors, unless you choose to consciously, because you're proud of their essence and proud of their heritage and proud of their work. But if you're not, then you're not. It is all on you. Just like you're not your past. You're not your past choices. You're not your past circumstances. You can choose to keep writing the same narrative. They chose to write the same narrative. They could have broken out of the mechanism of television, just like Wonder Woman did. They could have chose to break out of that and empower our consciousness. They chose to rewrite the narrative to maintain it. But now you have a choice. In your own life, you have a choice to rewrite the stars, to rewrite your story. Stop saying, I am that. I've always been that, unless it's something you want to keep being. I don't want to hear, I can't be successful and abundant. I'm always in scarcity, and I'm always in struggle, and I'm always in lack, and I've always life has always, beat me down, and I always have to, drown in my own ashes. Okay, that happened. You can't take that away. But if you keep claiming it and owning that narrative as if, oh, this is who I am, then this is what will be. Create a different self that empowers and supports your vision of who you would like to be and the world that you would like to live in. The way to become something is by being that something. Fake it until you make it. Do the actions. We're not here to turn the wheel backwards. We're not here to stop the wheel. We're here to break the wheel. Good luck, guys. I love you very much.